All righty, and welcome back to the inaugural episode of the second season of the Utah Sports Report. I am here kicking off the season with one of my favorite players all time for the Utah football team. I'm here with Ken Scott, and we're going to talk about offense and defense. Yeah, I'm going to get Ken to talk about defense, even though I'm sure he'd only rather talk about offense. We're going to talk about that, how he got his nickname. We're going to start off with that. Ken, I appreciate you coming on the show, and let's just dive into it. Why Batman? How'd you get that nickname?
Well, appreciate you having me on the show first and foremost. Secondly, the way Batman had came around, I believe it was around my sophomore, junior year. And obviously I was going through my injury stage where I had my second injury, and the way I was rising above that said injury, and I believe it was Isaac Asiata, and he came to me and was like, man, you're like a Batman sort of thing. And so that's how everything sort of came around. And it's so cool because if you think of Batman, Batman doesn't have any superheroes or anything. He's just, superpowers or anything. He's just straight grit, tenacity, just willpower. And I felt like that was the best that someone would characterize me as, because, I don't have anything like that's given as far as like a superpower. I just get it all on my own. I work hard, disciplined, committed, at whatever I need to do to achieve whatever it is. So that's how the name came about. I believe it was by Isaac Asiata, from the things that I was going through and the way I handled things, and my personality, my perspective, just getting things done with the grit and tenacity.
That is awesome, and that makes a lot of sense. Because while you were, I think you had a great career. Maybe it doesn't all show up in stats the way, maybe they aren't as, shiny and glossy as some might like. I think you should have gotten the ball a lot more. Contrary, apparently, to the offensive coordinators that were, calling the plays at the time. But
right.
So be it. It is what it is. You were still the consummate team player. You did what you were needed to do to help the team win. And there was a lot of that when you were there, if I remember correctly, a lot of good winning and good seasons. And it's like they always say, Utah expects their wide receivers to block so that we can, get bigger runs from the running backs and whatnot. And so yeah, sure. A lot of people don't necessarily see all that, and they're not seeing you make that awesome touchdown all the time like you did on the flea flicker we talked about before we started recording, from Travis Wilson in your freshman year. I believe that was your freshman year. And sophomore year, you still had a lot of time left after that. They should have said, look what he can do, let's do that some more.
Man, it's crazy. It seemed like a recurring theme after every game. I see Coach Witt in the press conference always mention, we need to give Kenneth Scott the ball more. You need to give Kenneth Scott the ball more. So I'm hearing it throughout the whole, not only from the coaches, but from players, fans, media. I'm hearing it a lot. And so, for me, it's one thing for me saying I want the ball and trying to press for it to get the ball, and it's another thing of other people saying it. So I value that more than if it was just me saying it, because it truly means for me that everybody loved what they saw from me, and it proves that I needed to get the ball more and demonstrated the playmaking ability that I did have. So that's pretty awesome to hear from people.
Right. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. And you've always come across to me as the kind of the down to earth guy who would feel that way. And, not the me kind of player that I'm not getting the ball enough, I'm transferring and all that kind of thing. And I think that comes down to that's the kind of people that Coach Witt and the staff recruits.
That's true. That's it couldn't be far from the truth, because even in high school I was involved in a similar style offense, and even Coach Rod, when he recruited me, he's seen that as well. My offense was run heavy, and we only passed the ball a few times, but when I did get the opportunities, big plays were made. And so he's seen I was very unselfish. I moved from the receiver spot to the tight end position in high school just so I can help with blocking. And so those are the type of sacrifices I've made throughout my whole career. It seemed like, sacrificing myself to help the betterment of the team, get to where the end goal we wanted to reach. So, that was like the story of my career.
Well, I think, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here in just a minute, but I wanted to just make one final comment on, the personal side that we're talking about for you right now. I'm sure you've heard it before that, you're a possession receiver, and some people don't really like that. And I feel like, it's it's something that's needed. If we needed a first down, I can't remember how many times I saw whoever your quarterback was, and usually Travis for the most part, right? Is that right, Ken?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. For the most part.
And so, I saw typically that, when we needed a big third down play, they were going to you. A lot of times, it was whether it was an out or across the field or whatever, they were going to you.
Yep.
And the DBs, they couldn't stop you. You were too big and strong for them. It's like,
and they knew the play. They knew the play. Guys watch film. Guys watch film. They study our team. Defensive coordinators getting paid lots of money, and they should have known that that's what we typically do. There's been times, and you can see it throughout the game, where the cornerback, they know it's coming. And we still ran the same play, and we were still able to convert it each and every time, no matter if they knew it was coming or not. And so that was pretty cool to witness too. It's like, no matter if you know it's coming, you still can't stop it. And that's probably the most frustrating thing of all.
Right. So, okay. So now I'm going to make myself a liar. I said, okay, we're going to go to break and then come back and talk about the meat and potatoes. But when you say that, it makes me want to ask one more question.
Of course.
So you knew they knew the plays, but when you lined up against them and you knew they knew the play, but I'm sure you had the confidence in your mind that they're not going to be able to stop me. So did you talk a little trash to them when you stepped up to the line and say, you ain't stopping me now?
When people watch me, especially after catches, they see how passionate I am after the catch. That's because just like how we mentioned, they know what's coming, but they can't stop it. And then when I catch the ball and they know it was coming and they can't stop it, that's when they see me talk trash. Like, you can't stop me. And so you see that often. If you go back, watch the plays and me jawing with somebody, it's from me saying, you knew it was coming. You still couldn't stop it. That type of thing.
I love it.
Very passionate.
Let them know.
Yeah.
All right. And on that note, we're going to let you guys watch a few little quick highlights here just to be reminded of how, what we have to look forward to this season, even though none of the highlights are going to contain anybody who's playing this season. But we've got a great season coming up, I think, and Ken and I are going to discuss it on the other side.
And they'll run it, Jordan! Ty. See you later! Touchdown, Utah!
4 seconds, 3 seconds. Back to Van Dyke, deep 3 up. It's good! It's good!
They just need this to finish their best beam rotation of the year. And look at Ford, says, get on your feet.
I want you to have in the back of your mind this question. Is this the best chance a Utah team has had this season right here? Is it the best chance a Utah team has had to make it to the CFP? Now, so don't answer that yet. Let's talk about who we got coming back.
Okay.
And some of our new players and everything. And, what the coaching staff has done, because I think our offense looked a little more open last year, probably a lot because of Cam.
Right.
And I think with some of our wide receivers that we have, and of course our great tight ends, that we might see, I know Whit likes that balance of pretty much we're a run team first, and then, pass kind of augments the run. But
Right.
I think that we're going to see maybe this year a little bit more of a swing in favor of passing. And so let's start off with the primary position, at least for most people, on the offense, which would be quarterback. I know you're a wide receiver, and I know you're wishing that I was going to say wide receiver, but you got to have somebody to throw to you. So
Yeah,
Cam Rising,
man.
give me your thoughts on Cam and what you think he's capable of this year.
Man, just this guy's mentality, man, the way he carries himself, the swagger he carries himself with, that's contagious. Even as a viewer, I can feel what he possesses on the field. Like, I don't know how it is. He just has that it factor. I don't know what it is. You can't explain it. And so if I could feel it through a TV screen, I can only imagine how others feel it if they're on the field with him. And so that's a dominant position to be in. It's just coming in, from a great season last year. I think he had a phenomenal season. And he's coming in with this basically the same pieces as he did last year, minus Britton Covey. And the sky is the limit for this guy, and I just love it. For me, it just starts up here, and he has it up here. He has the arm talent. He can do it on his feet as well. And so sky's the limit for that guy.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm just going to interject and throw in a few things. One, I've read several places that, his arm strength wasn't all the way back, from his shoulder injury last year. And I've heard him say in the offseason that it's finally back. He's throwing 65 yards without a problem, and his arm feels great after making that kind of a throw. So I think that's one thing to think about. And then, he went to the Manning quarterback camp and supposedly did very, very well. You have to be a very good quarterback to get invited to that anyway.
Right.
And so I feel like, while he was pretty accurate last year, there were times where it's like, man, come on, you're better than that, Cam.
Right.
I mean, he is fabulous running, and for the most part, he makes great throws. But there was a couple of times where I'd like him to be a little more consistent. And I feel like, with maybe some of that coaching from the Manning camp and just another year of experience under his belt at Utah in this offense and working with receivers that have been there. Now we're going to talk about them in a minute. That I think as good as we all saw him last year, I think he'll probably take a bit of a noticeable step up in his performance this year.
Oh, without a doubt. And plus, he knows he's the guy now. Like, no more is it fighting for anything. No more is it sharing reps with someone and hoping you get to be thrown in with the ones and you just been thrown in with the twos, right? This is your office now. This is your guys. And so having a full year and the off season to play with your guys, the chemistry is going to be there. And I'm hoping, and what it's looking like, they're going to have another big season, if not better. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for them.
As am I, which is why we're doing this.
For real.
So let's, with that said, let's jump straight to the wide receivers.
Okay.
Now last year, the tight ends were the main receivers. And I think, when you have a guy like Brant Keithy and Dalton Kincaid, have brain cramp there. That's what happens when you get old and all this gray hair. When you have Dalton Kincaid, who was invited to the camp, for NFL, for the draft
combine,
combine, yes. And I think Keithy was too, but I think his was a later invite. But they both turned him down, and they were like, "No, I think I can polish my game up a little bit, and we can do something special," and blah blah blah. And so, awesome. Whatever their reason was, I'm glad they're back.
Right.
So they're going to get a lot of touches. But let's talk about the wide receivers, because I think there's some great talent there. Some guys with some good size like you had, who, because you guys are bigger. Like you and some of these other guys that I'm going to talk about, bigger than your average cornerback and
Right.
whatnot. So we have that, and I think some of these guys have some pretty good speed. So you look at a guy like Devon Bailey,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard he was kind of dinged up for a fair bit of last year, especially toward the second half.
Right.
And he was still just, that was kind of his first year really
Yeah, settling in.
yeah, and whatnot. So I feel like he can be a main target for him. At 6'5", runs pretty well. They say his catch radius is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you feel about what do you expect out of him this year?
Honestly, when I look at him, he showed a lot of great flashes last year, made some big time plays, some tough grabs. And I'm hoping as he settled in from last year, they utilize him more on the perimeter, especially with Kincaid and Keithy obviously being the main pieces. But I feel like we can utilize him more than what we did last year, which I'm assuming they are. But the guy is terrific, crazy athletic, big catch radius like you mentioned. And so I feel like he will be, obviously him and Enos will be, your wide receiver ones, right? 1 and 2. And so, I'm looking forward to the things that they can produce. Honestly, with our offense and scheme, I don't see a receiver getting 1,000 yards. I just don't see it. But we can have a receiver have 600-700 yards, right? And another having 600-700 yards.
Right.
So that's what I can see out of them, as far as production wise. Obviously because we have Kincaid and Keithy, at the helm. So I feel like he's a good talent.
And let me feel free to disagree with me, but I feel like some of our receiver talent is good enough to get 1,000 yards out of them. But I feel like we have enough at so many positions that it makes more sense to kind of spread those yards around,
right? So
that we can kind of keep the defense guessing on who we're going to throw the ball to this time or who we're going to hand it off to or whatever.
Right. So, you're totally right, man. We have so many weapons at the receiver position. I know we highlighted Vele, but we got Enos, we got Cope, who made some terrific catches, obviously in the spring.
We're gonna get there. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Oh, okay. My bad. I don't want to jump the gun, but you're right, man. We have a lot of guys that can, we don't have to focus in on one person. We have a lot of guys that we can spread the wealth to.
Right. So let's talk about the others. Next on my list was Enos. And I've been a fan of Enos's too, because he's got, good lineage. His dad was, I think won the Heisman at Penn State,
I know that. Wow.
If he didn't win the Heisman, he was number 1 running back at Penn State. And so Curtis, look him up.
Wow, I'm gonna have to. I've always said this, but Solomon Enos, he reminds me of a Luke Matthews. And the reason why I say he reminds me of a Luke Matthews is Luke Matthews was very dependable. He was a leader of all leaders. He was strong. He was physical, especially in the run game. He wasn't a me guy at all. He just did what he was told to do. He was reliable and dependable, and he just worked. And that's what Enos does. He's not the guy that's saying, "Hey, look at me" or anything. He's just a guy that goes in, does what he's told. He's a great leader on the receiving corps, and also he's a great blocker. As far as what he does in the run game. So. When I look at Solomon, I always think of like Luke Matthews when he comes to mind. And, mentioning, how we mentioned Devon Vele, I felt like Devon was more of like me my sophomore year, where I made those sporadic big catch radius type plays. And then, I look at a guy like Makai Cope, which probably would talk about, I could see him, in that same kind of lineup, as myself too, with the size and his radius and things of that nature too. So, with Enos, he's a good guy, man. He's going to do some good things this year as well, especially it being his last year.
Well, when I think of Enos, and I was, putting this list together last night, he reminded me a lot of a guy, and I'm going to give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Who do you think he reminded me of?
Myself.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
No question.
I always think of the generation before me. It's weird. Like, because, this is the current generation, and you're thinking of the generation before, which is me. And then I'm thinking of, the person prior, so it's crazy. Right. But no, he does. It just like, he approaches it just like how I approached it. Obviously, the X receiver in all offenses get the glory to shine and the praise, but it's the Z receiver that, in my opinion, is the most value because, they're always on the strong side of the offense, meaning that's where a lot of the run plays go. Typically,
Right.
you don't really run to the weak side of the play, you run to the strong side. And if you got a strong side receiver that's willing to go in there, hunt down those safeties or even down a linebacker to pop open that running back downfield, man, that's so much value right there. That's not going to show up in the statistic category that people won't see. But, if you watch film, you understand that was super important. And so, yeah, Solomon Enos is a guy, that, I played in that same exact role as like a Z receiver on the strong side. Not typically the most praised position, but the most valued position in the receiver group because he is the person that would crack some open for a running back.
Right. And those guys don't go unnoticed.
Right.
I mean, by about anybody. Because,
Right.
even when we're watching the game on TV, you hear the frequently, the sportscasters talk about, oh, that receiver just made the block that sprung the running back.
Yep.
So you get that extra 10, 20 yards or get that TD or whatever, So yeah, you guys don't go unnoticed for sure. But now, since you mentioned him, Makai Cope, did you watch the spring game?
Man, did I? And I even watched him in fall camp last year when I was able to spend a week out there when Coach would allow me to, man. I was like, man, this guy's going to be special. Big body, he can move a little bit. And obviously you've seen his catch rates in the spring game and, he's set too. And so I can't wait till it all comes together and gets put on display.
Yeah. I think he's somebody, like you said, he's got good size. He's 6'3", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Which is, what was your playing weight when you were playing?
So I was at 214.
Okay. I thought you were 2 something. I couldn't remember what you were playing at, but you're 6'3", right? And so you guys are like really close.
Yeah.
And you got hands like glue. Because if you saw the spring game, and I'm going to see if I can find the highlight and stick it in here. But, what a catch in rainy weather, one-handed, way off balance. I mean, just an amazing catch. And you see that and you're like, okay, that dude needs to be on the field.
Yes, man. And, it's plays like that be like, oh, shoot. Well, we need to get this guy in here more, and so as long as he's consistently making those type of plays day in and day out, he's going to find himself in the game making those same type of catches. So I'm hoping that is the trend in the way it's going.
Right. Now, also, the other person, I mean, there's a couple more receivers, obviously a lot more on the roster, but, only a couple more that I want to chat about real quick. Money Parks, who did have he had a touchdown last year. I believe it was against USC. And I feel like he's a kind of a guy who has that speed factor and maybe should also get some more opportunities to stretch the defense and whatnot. And then Jalen Dixon was the other one I was going to talk about, but he's kind of, if I'm being honest, I've always been a fan because I'm a fan of everybody who comes and plays for Utah. But I feel like he's let us down a lot recently, especially like maybe not being able to hang on to the ball. Like there was a play last year when not an easy catch, but a catchable ball where he had it in his hands in the end zone. He hit the ground and the ball came out.
I think I know exact play you're talking about.
And when I see that, it's like, man, we got to make those plays. You make that play, you probably get more snaps.
Right.
But if the coaches can't trust that you're going to make that play, difficult as it may be, they have to put somebody in there who will make that play because Cubby's going to make that play all day long.
And that's the thing, especially with the receiver position, no matter how hard it is or how easy the catch is, you have to make those plays because they're going to remember, oh man, the plays that you didn't make more than the plays that you made, honestly, to be honest with you. They'll be like, oh man, he's the guy that didn't he drop a pass like that? They're going to remember those type of plays. So as a receiver, you just got to keep on piling them on and just being consistent because the more consistent, like you said, you're going to trust them. And if they trust you, then you're good, but you just got to be consistent to not, wither away that trust. And so with him, he just got to take it one play at a time. Don't let, if a bad play does happen, don't let it, affect you too much to where the next play it affects you. And so, I think that's once he battles, as far as the consistency part, and then you'll see him more in action, making more plays and things of that nature, because he can.
I hope he can
pop it off. Yeah, he can pop it off.
Right. And I'd love to see that, and if he can make, the kind of impact that's going to help us, maybe be undefeated instead of 11-1, or something like that, or help us, give us that extra oomph to get us into the CFP instead of just another Rose Bowl. I don't care who does it. I just, but we need those players on the field who can do it.
Right. For sure, without a doubt.
So now let's go to the other half of the receiving group, the tight ends.
Yeah.
Got a couple of tight ends that everybody knows about with Brant Kuithe and Dalton Kincaid. And then we've got a few others that maybe people don't know as much about, but I want to talk about them at the end after we talk about Brant and Dalton. So give me they're different body types. Kincaid is a little kind of leaner at 6'4", and has hands like I trust that guy all day long.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Catch after catch after catch. And Kuithe's pretty close to that.
Right.
But Kuithe's, 6'2", a little stockier, and they both have decent speed for bigger guys. So give me your thoughts on both of them and the kind of, do you think they're going to both be have a better year this year than they did last year, or about the same, or give me your thoughts?
Just the way our offense runs, they had great years last year. I think it'll be the similar style, the way we operate. Obviously we run the ball heavy, and the tight end, like you mentioned, is like the back half of the receivers. It's like that middle ground. We don't really, which is a bad thing, throw to our receivers that often as we should. And so that tight end position is our little money maker, because it's more of a trust thing. It's not the deep pass, it's an intermediate game to where we can dink and dunk or get a little bit, get 10, 15 here and there. And it doesn't have to be far out. But as far as production wise, they're going to get their production. They're going to do the things that they're going to do. They're still going to be great. But I did hear, in regards to Kuithe, that he's going to be transitioning out to the outside as a receiver. And so, that can play.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. And that could play more in his favor, because like you said, he's obviously 6'1", 6'2", about 220, not really that big as Kincaid, not the traditional tight end like as Kincaid. And so moving him around is going to do him better, right? Being able to line up in a slot as a receiver or on the outside as a single receiver, utilize him more often to move around, use those reverses like we do, and use Kincaid as a traditional tight end, like how, we see like a Travis Kelce, you can use Kincaid in such way, but, the versatility between them. But there's one dark horse that I don't know if you're going to mention, but I'm very interested to see how this year will be for him based off the move that they're going to do, because I think it's going to bode really well.
So I've heard, the Kuithe thing, and that they're going to probably want him to shed maybe 10 pounds to get still want him to be strong.
Right.
But maybe see if that helps him get a little faster. And yeah, so I think that'll be interesting, because he's still going to be bigger than the average cornerback.
Right.
And so I am looking forward to that. And I believe the person that you were thinking about, is it Thomas Yasmin?
No, not Thomas Yasmin, but he is a baller. I watched him in fall camp, and I was like, man, who is this guy that keeps on catching everything, dogging people?
Okay. Manure McLean.
Yeah. Yep. Manure McLean. Yes, man. He's a big body. He's like a in between of Kincaid and Kuithe, right? He played the position of receiver all his life. The tight end position is kind of transitioning to his play style and his fit. And so I believe he can really blossom in that role, especially if he stays there for another year under Kincaid, get some reps in, settle in that role. When they leave, him and Yasmin can be that duo, and it bode really, really well for him. And I believe he's like a dark horse in that in that arena, but I think is going to be an impact type player if he settles in right.
And Yasmin is 6'5", 245,
Yeah.
250 or something like that. So he's a big dude. And
I like him. I didn't know he was Australian until he started talking trash. And I was like, oh, shoot. He was like, okay. He said he was using mate a lot. Like, yeah, mate. I was like, oh, shoot, he's Australian.
Yep.
Oh,
right. He's the Yasminian devil.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, Yasminian devil.
I came up with that. So
man.
Start calling them that. That's
hey, he got to get merch.
I want the credit.
Yeah.
Now there's two other guys, and I can't remember the one's name. I looked him. Let me see if he's showing up on the roster. The one guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Landon Morris, who was played for Syracuse last year, and he's like 6'5", 6'6", about 230 or so.
I seen him. I seen him as far as committing, but I haven't seen his game. But that's a big body.
Yeah, and he's transferred because he said that Syracuse told him that he was going to be a big part of their passing game, and ended up, just wanting him to block, put on a bunch of weight so he can block. And, I get it. Tight ends are going to have to block. That's got to be part of their role. But it also seems to me that if you're 6'5", 6'6", and you're athletic, like he looks athletic, he doesn't look like he's so bulky that, he's going to be slow. He's going to be a matchup problem.
Yep.
Got very few linebackers that are anywhere near 6'5", 6'6". Most of them are 6'3" at the tallest.
Right.
There's a few here and there that might be 6'4", but he's going to be a matchup nightmare when he does get on the field.
Right.
And a bit like McLean, because McLean's 6'4" and Kincaid's 6'4", and they are matchup nightmares because they run good routes.
Right.
They got great hands.
That's true. And at first when you said it, as far as like, he wanted to be more involved in the pass game and they just wallowed him down to the block. And it kind of concerned me at first, it was like, is he a me guy? Just thinking about me. But
I had the same thought when I heard that.
Yeah, but with the coaching staff, they do a great job of vetting players out and making sure that they fit our culture. And so, bringing him in, because we brought a lot of guys in, that had probably worse backgrounds than him. Right. And so they must see something in him that he's not a me guy. He is a we guy. He just wants an opportunity to shine, which he will, especially at that position if everything stays the same as it is, as far as the coaches and things of that nature, the playing style. Luckily with Cam Rising, we still got hopefully a year or two with him, this year, next year, obviously.
Probably
he's a junior.
I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm thinking he's, if he has a good year, there's a lot of people thinking this is his last year.
So, so depending on how that goes, right? Because you got to think about it. If he goes next year, who's going to be the backup, and obviously Barnes balled out. He did his thing, man, when he stepped in.
Right.
I love me some Barnes, man. The way he played, man, I wanted him to win that game so bad.
Oh, that would have
been an Alex Smith type story, because that's how Alex Smith got his role and whatever, because of injury. But man, I love that guy when he came in and did what he did. But you never know, that could be something to think about in the future. But coaches vet players out really well, and I believe he'll be a good fit, especially what we got going on. And so our tight end position looks like it's going to be solid for the next couple of years.
Just like our linebacker position on defense. I mean, we keep signing linebackers. I'm like going, holy crap! I think we've got the deepest linebacker room in the country. But we'll talk about that in the next video.
Yeah. Okay,
so let's. So we are stacked at tight ends. I think we're pretty good at wide receiver. We didn't talk about backup quarterbacks beyond Cam. Hopefully we don't need to, but we do have Quindon Jackson and Bryson Barnes. We've got a couple of good freshmen that are in this year, and then we've already got a commitment from another good one next year, pro style next year. And so I think we've got some good talent in the QB room that it'll be interesting to see, even if Cam does leave after this year. And I hope he does. I hope his season is so fantastic that he goes, because if it is that fantastic, at least in my mind, We're in the
Yeah.
CFP, baby. I'll take that. See you, Cam. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yeah, without a doubt. If he plays to the capabilities of what we think he could play, because that's really what it is. Defensively, historically, it doesn't matter who gets replaced, who leaves, who gets replaced. Offensively, if we can get it to where it was, like, because last year played a pivotal point, our offense, man, stepped up in a crazy way, points per game, all that. And you see, okay, if the offense can play at a level as a defense, where we can go, which is the Rose Bowl. Just imagine if the offense just did a little bit better than what they did last year. Oh man, it's all she wrote,
And with how young our whole team was, and especially like our defense, we had like 3 redshirt freshmen starting on the defensive line or something like that. So again, we can get into all that down the road, but yeah, it's we got a lot to talk about. Running backs.
Yes.
That's kind of the core of Utah's offense.
Oh my
Tavion Thomas.
Oh my God.
Touchdown, Tavion Thomas.
Yeah, man. Mr. Thriller. It's amazing. My whole tenure at Utah, we've always had great running backs, starting from, Eddie White and Matt Asiata to John White to Booker to, I've always been around some great running backs, and it seems like it's going to continue and keep on continuing. It seems like every year, like our running back record seems to be broken. Like every year it seems like. And that's freaking awesome, as far as like what our running backs can do, because we got Tavion, like you said, you got the new kid Jalen Glover, you got Makai, Mr.
Let's talk about Jalen, because that was my next thing. So let's talk about Jalen. When Ty came, I was looking at him, I was hearing all this stuff about how he's quick and fast and everything, and he's like 5'7" and 207 or something like that. So you knew he was going to be tough to bring down because of a low center of gravity, and he's strong as heck. He was built. I was a Ty fan from the day he stepped on the field, but when I was watching him on his first run and he picked up like 20 yards, I turned to my daughter, who was watching the game with me, and I said, this kid
be special.
Could be as good or better than Zach Moss. Because I thought, he was faster than Zach, and I thought he had, a little more shiftiness than Zach did. No disrespect to Zach, because I love Zach, and I think Zach was awesome. I loved watching him for 4 or 5 years. I think he got injured for one of those years and had to stay a little longer. But I looked at Ty, and I was like, I was a huge Ty fan from the start. And I look at Jalen, and I've seen a lot of highlights, and the dude played in Florida against some really good talent, and he runs away from a lot of that talent. So, he's got some speed.
Right.
And you look at the dude, he's built more like a tank than Ty was.
Built. Yes.
Built.
I said, God, he is not 18. Lord, what has it been eating?
Right. I want some of that.
Yeah. 2 servings. God.
What's on the menu?
Yeah, for sure.
Dude's he is built. He can run. He seems very intelligent, like a student of the game.
Right.
And kind of like Ty was. And may he rest in peace, because, man, I love that kid. And that was tragic. But
he was something special.
But yeah, so I'm really thinking that it's a 1A, 1B kind of a thing where, Jalen comes on the field and we don't lose anything when Tavion goes off.
It's crazy.
And he might even be better in the receiving part of the running back game than Tavion.
It's crazy because, Makai Bernard, because we use him as more of a utility because of receiving out of the backfield too. And so this young guy can, catch out of the backfield, obviously is going to take some reps away from Makai, but
where is he? That was my next thing I wanted to talk about is Makai.
Man, it's crazy, like the different styles and what value they can add to the Makai Bernard. Obviously, he can do it all. He can, if you could throw him in the slot because he can catch out of the backfield. He can, so he's a utility. He's a versatile player that you can plug him in many places, sort of like how Bubba Poole was when we figured out Devontae Booker was going to be Devontae Booker.
Right.
And so I could see him in
great comparison. I think.
Yeah, I could see Mekhi Bernard in that type of role as Bubba Poole was when Devontae Booker had his break. And then one person that we always forget about too is Curry, the guy from LSU.
I was also going to bring him up. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's a beast too. Like there's a reason why he went
5'11", 217.
Yeah, like come on now. And so, with the lifespan of a running back, they're going to get dinged up. And
Right.
so, just having that many stallions in the backfield, man,
Right.
it
Right.
definitely plays in our favor. And so it's a beautiful thing to see because they all are talented, in many ways. But like you said, Tavion is 1A and or 1, doesn't matter. And
Right.
got your Glover kid, whether it's 1B or 2, whatever it is. And then you got Mekhi, utilizing the way he getting utilized. And so Curry's going to be in there mixed too. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. Like this is a deep team this year. It's crazy.
Very deep. And hopefully we don't need it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully we just use them just because they're that good and not
Right.
because we have injuries.
Yep.
But let's spend a minute talking about Mekhi. I love that kid.
Yeah.
He was 17 when he stepped on campus.
Mhm.
Not quite, I think he was 17 and a half, somewhere between that
Yeah.
and 18. He's got some good speed.
Mhm.
He's 6 feet, 6'1", something
Yeah.
like that. And he's, pushing 200 now,
Right.
give or take, maybe 195 or whatever. So he's solid. His build reminds me of Smith and Jigba.
Oh, yeah, from Ohio State.
Yeah, the kid that lit us up for 300
Oh.
whatever yards.
Oh, I said it.
Because our secondary was so depleted.
Man, that's the
Not that he's not great.
Yeah, he's great, but I feel like if we had a healthier secondary, I think we would have won that game, and he would have had a great game, probably 100+ yards for sure, but he wouldn't have had it to that level, and
Right.
the score wouldn't have been like that. We would have won. I swear, we would have
Because
won.
he had several big touchdown plays.
Yes,
We had your Travis Broughton in there,
Yeah.
healthy. I think we win that game.
for sure.
But we'll talk more about that
Yeah.
on the defensive video. So what I would say is that, and when you think back to the Rose Bowl and you replay that play in your mind, and you got to know what play I'm talking about, where Cam makes that beautiful throw where the only person that's going to catch it is Mekhi.
Yeah.
And he makes that one-handed grab with a toe in the end zone.
That was a spectacular play.
He's amazing. He's got to be on the field.
Yeah.
I think he needs to have probably 5 to 10 touches a game and 5 to 10 plays a game at the running back, preferably touches, a minimum of 5
Right.
at the running back.
Right.
But I also think he needs to see a fair bit of time as receiver slot.
Yeah. And that's an additive bonus to our receiving core too, right there.
Right.
So we got so many, man. So like, having 1,000 yards as a receiver is beautiful. But when you got guys like Mekhi Bernard, who's a running back, that's going to take some of the yardage away. You got your tight ends that's going to take yardage away. You got other receivers on your course that taking the yards away. It's very hard, to have 1,000-yard season. The last receiver we had that had 1,000 yards was Drez.
Yeah.
That was Drez Anderson. And he was the only receiver on the team that year, really. And it was Sean Fitzgerald alongside of him and Anthony Denna, but the majority was just him. And so he was able to get all the passes and all the stuff thrown to him to reach the 1,000-yard marker. But other than that, if you have so many weapons, you're not going to, especially in our type of offense, you're not going to reach that. 1,000 yards, 500 yards is comparable to 1,000 yards in our type of offense.
Right. Especially if you have several receivers
Yeah.
who are getting those kind of big chunks of yardage and a couple of tight ends.
Yeah, because we only throw typically in the past, we only threw about 20, 25 times a game,
like 25 to 30 times a game.
Yeah.
And maybe equal in running plays or whatever. But
right.
So are we in agreement on the Mekhi Bernard thing?
Oh, for sure. I love the guy, man. He's awesome. And it seems like he doesn't complain at all. He just plays his role and he does it to the best of his ability. And that's amazing to see.
And in the Rose Bowl, he was playing injured big time. I don't think people know how injured he was.
Man.
And he was playing both sides of the ball.
Not only both sides, all sides, because he was on special teams too, running down, tackling people. He played everything.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was a player that did that before, that played literally offense, defense, and special teams. He played everything.
Right.
You sticking the best receiver and one of the best receivers in the country. You're playing like I don't know how he.
And let's I want to just clear something up for people who might have this in their mind, because I've talked to several people who have thought that that Mekhi was the one that was getting beat all the time by Smith and Jigba. He did get beat. Smith and Jigba will beat about anybody at some point in time. So not a bad thing. Yeah, but Mekhi was actually covering other guys a lot of the time, not Smith and Jigba. He did cover him, he got beat a couple of times, but more often than not, it was Malone Mataele who was the one that was covering Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
Not to throw anybody under the bus, because like I said, Smith and Jigba, I believe, is going to be a first round pick after this, this season.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
I mean,
come on,
nothing to hang your head about. So
and you have to learn that position in a week that people take years to learn. Like, come on, man. Like, he played that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think so. O-line.
Yeah, obviously with Olaseni gone, my guy Ford gone, and a couple others. It's like, I don't say it's a rebuilding year, because you got the guys coming off an injury, like
Darren Crump.
There we go. And then you have other guys like Daniels that's playing, filling in to figure out which.
I thought Daniels did awesome last year at right tackle.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's like his home. I think he performed a lot better there. He was playing left guard. And I think that, I think he's got enough experience now that he could play left guard, but his footwork and his athleticism was so good at right tackle. I was like, he's like born again. It's like, holy crap, where did that come from? That's awesome. Keep him there.
Yeah. And he was amazing. That obviously they may have, I'm gonna be honest, they may have struggles early on in the season. That's but as
part of that was the quarterback that was playing. Part of that was the quarterback that was playing.
And I believe they're gonna be a solid group. They're gonna be a solid group. I think they're gonna be good regardless.
So I'm looking at so Brayden Daniels was my first one on my list, just because I mean the way he played at right tackle last year was fantastic. And then we got, of course, Jaren Kump coming back. He played left tackle before he got injured too badly, and then Olaseni comes in, and man, after a couple of games, he just lit it up, and he was fun to watch, and I was really happy with him, and hopefully he gets some NFL time. And then Paul Miley, I think things just clicked better when he was playing center. I think he was making the right blocking calls and whatnot, and so I'm excited to have him back, because we've got he's now got some good experience, and so we can kind of have that trust in him. And then Laumea. I mean, does everybody remember that block that he put on? I think it was the Oregon dude, the safety that was coming down, and he was a decleater. I mean, he just put him down and looked at him and says, "Stay down."
Yeah. That must be a wonderful feeling as an offensive lineman. You get those type of blocks. Those must be their highlight catches, like in comparison to those type of blocks, man.
Yeah. That was more than just your normal pancake.
It had syrup, strawberries, different type of toppings on that thing.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a blindside moment.
Yeah, for sure. That was awesome, man.
That was great. And then Keaton Bills, who's also had some experience.
So I think we should be good. I think we're gonna be good. With Coach Harding, he's always found a way to where they start clicking and end up performing to where we need them to be. It may be rough at some point, but eventually, over time, things will smooth out and get better. But, he's a phenomenal coach. Obviously, he got guys in the NFL for a reason. So, so I'm looking forward to it. I think, with the offensive talent we got on the ball, if those guys get dialed in the front, protect the quarterback, put them O's open for the running back, and let us get enough time to throw the ball out to our tight ends and receivers, it's going to be another great year.
I think so. So keep that question in mind that I asked you at the beginning. So we've got, so on the offense, I'm also going to include the offensive special teams like the returners and the field goal kickers and whatnot. So we had a returner last year who was not only a great Ute in terms of just representing the school well and being a great teammate from everything that I could tell, but he was just so exciting to watch. And I'll give you an example. In the Oregon game, in the first Oregon game at home, right before halftime, I think with about 11 seconds left, Oregon was dumb enough to try to, they were deep in their own end of the field. They were dumb enough thinking, okay, let's throw the ball.
Right.
They threw a couple of incompletions, which stopped the ball, stopped the clock, and we didn't even need to worry about using up a timeout. And 11 seconds left on the clock, and they're about to snap it to punt the ball. And I look at my daughter and I say, wouldn't that be awesome if Covey returned it for a touchdown?
Man.
And the very next play, he jukes one guy and then he comes back all the way across the field. And our seats are in the end zone. And in that south end zone. And we basically see him coming running straight at us.
That was amazing.
And I'm just going, holy crap, it happened.
That was amazing. It was meant to be, and it was on the 22-yard line, I heard too. So
yeah, the 22. Yep. It was a 78-yard return. I mean, 22-yard line, those guys were up there going, okay, sprinkle a little magic dust on it.
Yeah, for sure. That was just, man, you couldn't make that up.
I know, but it happened, and it almost happened identically again in the Pac-12 championship game.
And if that would have, man, that would have been crazy.
I know.
Special talent, man, special player. As soon as he stepped foot on our campus and had first fall camp with him, you could feel it, you could see it.
Yeah. So Covey was a great player. And I think that you played with him for a few years, and so you could probably attest to him being a great teammate, I'm guessing.
For sure.
He could probably attest to you being a great teammate.
Yeah.
And so we've got a lot to replace now. In terms of the receiver part, he was a great slot receiver and made some great catches and had some electrifying plays because he was so shifty.
Yeah.
But I think all else being equal, I think we're going to be okay at those positions, like we've talked about. But who do you see replacing him as a returner?
That's going to be tough. I know as a punt returner, Vele was catching some punt returns. So I'm not sure. He's not going to be as shifty. He's more like a security as far as catching the punts and stuff like that. He may not make too many people miss, but I do recall him catching some punts back there. And hopefully, I remember Money Parks was too when I was out there and looking at him. And then in terms of kickoff return, I know Clark Phillips was the other guy there. So, I don't see anybody as of yet that's going to be as valuable as Covey was. At any given time, something could pop off. Potentially it could, you never know. But as of right now, I don't see it. The more is just going to be like, okay, we secure the ball, whether it's a punt return or kick return. We get as much yards as we can, whether that's 10, 15, 20 yards to move the field position up. But as far as home run, we're still looking for that.
I think we've got a couple of guys that have committed this year, that will sign hopefully with us in the first signing period, that have that kind of potential. They're really shifty and they've got some speed and that kind of stuff. But they aren't playing this year. So it's like, what do we do this year? Yeah. Do you see Mekhi Bernard possibly getting some?
That would be nice. That would be nice. But I'm thinking about it and I'm not sure if that'll take away from his other roles. Hopefully somebody else can fill in as far as, the role that he's coming from to be able to return it, because he does add value in what he does. So I could see him back there without a doubt.
I mean, to me, he just seems like he's got the speed. I don't know that anybody's quite as shifty as Covey was.
Right, man, that guy was a magician. It was crazy.
Indeed. So, and then I think it's going to be Redding kicking field goals.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember Redding, and someone else had transferred. Was that the punter that transferred?
Yeah,
in the transfer portal?
They just left. Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
But so I mean, and I think boy, it was scary last year, some of those times we had to punt, and I think part of that was the fact that our long snapper got injured, our main long snapper.
Okay, so that played a part.
Yeah, and I think the other part is we tried to compensate in ways we weren't ready to when he got injured. Our blocking kind of seemed to, maybe our long snapper was so good that it kind of hid maybe some of our deficiencies in blocking. But at any rate, we had a couple of times where I think they blocked our punts and, got touchdowns. And
right. They did.
Arizona did. And that game was closer than it should have been. Oregon State did.
Right.
Beat us. And so
that running back did go off again. Oregon State game, that guy was killing us, man.
Yeah, he was.
I still don't see how we lost, but that guy had a freaking phenomenal game, that running back.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It hurts that we lost that game. They were coming off a bye, so that always
that helps
a little bit of an advantage to scout us more and whatnot, and be fresher. The other thing that I would say about that is that, it happened at a time where we still had enough time to kind of come back from that and show that was a blip, and it wasn't who we were. We weren't going to go downhill. We were still going to march ahead, win the conference with only one loss,
right?
And then make it to the Rose Bowl and represent rather well.
Yeah, for sure. One loss, man. That's man, it's phenomenal.
One loss in conference. We lost 2 other games before conference, but that was because of another quarterback that we had whose name shall not be mentioned.
That's what it was. It was luck.
That's right. Luck for those other teams.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, let's I appreciate you coming on and talking about the offense. In our next video, we are going to talk about the defense and test your knowledge and see if you pay much attention to that side of the ball.
For sure. Let's see.
And get your ideas and your thoughts on how we're going to do on that side of the ball this year. I'm hoping that we're going to improve a little bit with all the young guys that we had. And then, if you're watching this video and you haven't watched the defensive video, I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can click on that and go watch, our thoughts on the defense. And if you've already watched that, we appreciate it. And Ken, I'll be right back with you for the defensive side of the ball.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming on again, and we'll talk to you in a minute.